Hey everyone, this is Roland here. Welcome and thank you for being here. And today I'm going to be talking about where you start is not where you end. Now, I was talking about this in my writing podcast, and my podcast is called The Writer's Creative Space. It's a podcast that provides tips and advice, inspiration, and encouragement to authors and aspiring authors. So, if you are a writer and you need someone to walk alongside you, or you need encouragement, or you need advice, I would encourage you to click on the link, go and check out my podcast. I know it'll be a great help to you. But anyway, let's continue with my story. So like I was saying, I was preparing for the episode and I realized that the principle that I was talking about is not just a life principle, but is a spiritual principle. And I was reminded of Rahab, for example. And when we meet her in the story, the Bible tells us that she is a prostitute. So her beginning wasn't the greatest. And as a prostitute, I can imagine there's no expectations or high expectations for her. People see her one way, and she probably saw herself in the way they saw her as well, right? And she didn't expect much of herself. So there was a narrative that she had, and there was a narrative that people had. But that all changed when some Hebrew spies came and she hid them, and her life was changed forever. And we see how from not a great beginning and not a great start, how that's changed into an amazing end. And we see that in the Word of God. And let's go to Hebrews 11, which is the faith hall of fame, I guess is what it's called. Anyway, the Hebrews 11 31, and it says, by faith the prostitute Rahab, because she welcomed the spies, was not killed with those who were disobedient. And among all the other great men and women of God and the great men and women of faith, her name is there. And what an amazing end. And even if you carry on reading her story, you'll find out that she was in the lineage of Christ. She was part of that lineage. And what an honor, what a privilege, and what an amazing testimony of how God can take a bad beginning and turn it around to an amazing end. And that is another thing I want to highlight, is that when God came into play, He changed her story. He changed her narrative. He's the only one that can do that. And that is why we trust God. That is why we rely on Him. And one more example is the disciples. And remember how these were just ordinary, unlearned, uneducated men. They were fearful. But when Jesus came, He changed their beginning, which was not the best. I won't say it wasn't great, but it wasn't the best. They were just fishermen, right? There was no grand plans to change the world. There was no amazing plans for them to be world shakers at first. No, there wasn't. But because Jesus came, because He had a narrative for them, because He changed their narrative from fishermen to fisher of men, things changed for them. And again, He changed their beginning to an amazing end. So I want to encourage you that you may be in a place right now, you cry out to God for help. You cry out to Him because you don't know where your life is going. Your next step is not clear. You may be thinking, I'm useless. How can I be used? Or I can't be used, and I can't see it. But I want to remind you that where you start is not where you end. And it's not where you end because Jesus has written your end. And when He writes endings, they are amazing. They are beautiful. They are powerful. And what a testimony they are. So that is my encouragement to you today. And I will end here. And before I end, I want to remind you that if you'd like to support me financially, you can now do so with a few dollars every month on Buy Me a Coffee. So simply go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Roland, ROLAIN. And with that, I've come to the end of the episode. I will see you next week, and God bless.